Welcome to Here's the Deal. I'm your host, Shilo, and look who's back. Mr. Marv, how are you?
I am doing pretty okay, Shilo. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Enjoying this 70-degree day
Right?
up here in the Williston area. It's been great. So I wish the wind wasn't quite as strong as it is, but yeah, it's been a nice day today. So
Well, it's been a crazy couple weeks, hasn't it?
it certainly has. Certainly has. I think this is the first time we're going to be together since the convention, huh?
Yeah, because I was off the show Friday and off the show this last Tuesday.
Right.
We've been dealing with family stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little sad that I missed Tuesday because I got the email regarding this carbon capture meeting Tuesday afternoon. I was going to talk about it on the show that night, and I didn't. That has been updated, is no longer a legislator-only meeting. Now the press is going to be allowed to attend, so we'll see how that goes. I bet you the whole tone of the meeting is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of interesting. Something I did want to touch on quick before we bring on our guest. If you hop over to the Secretary of State website, folks, they do have the full slate of candidates that are currently going into the primary listed. Senate, we have Katrina Christensen for Democrats, Kevin Cramer for the Republicans. Congress is going to be a heck of a race because we have Alex on, we have Rick, we have Julie, we have Cara Mund that announced on Monday. We have a Charlotte Moore out of Williston for the Republicans. And then for Democrats, we have, I'm going to butcher his name, Trigiv Hammer out of Minot. And then we have Roland Reimers out of Grand Forks that are both running on the MPL Democratic ticket. Governor, currently, we have Tammy Miller, Kelly Armstrong, Merle Pepcorn, Republican, Democrat. And then state auditor, we got Josh Gallion versus Tim Lamb, the Democrat. Tim, if you remember, ran against Drew Wrigley 2 years ago. Treasurer Thomas Beatles unchallenged. Insurance Commissioner John Godfrey's unchallenged. Public Service Commissioner, we have Randy Chrisman versus Tracy Wilkie. And then Superintendent of Public Instruction, we have Baszler, we have Jim Bartlett, we have Darko still. I don't know if anybody's even seen him. And then we got Jason Heitkamp all running. So, yeah, it's going to be wild. Bismarck, the other guy that was going to be joining with us, I lost Shilo there. The other guy that was going to be joining, we have Mike Connolly running, and then there's a couple others that are there. And then Steve Marquardt announced the day of that he was dropping. So it's we're in for an interesting race, and Shilo ran away. Give him just a second. Other than that, it's been a mess this week, folks. The news media is definitely having a field day with what happened at convention, with what happened, what's happened since. And I don't know if you guys caught the congressional debate that they had on the flag today, but that was quite the show. So thumbs up on my computer. I'll be on as soon as I get logged back in. All right. Well, we lost Shilo. He'll be back. With that said, let's introduce you guys to Bruce Moe. Bruce Moe is going to be a write-in candidate for governor for November. Bruce ran back in 2020. He's going to be running again this year, but he's pushing all the way to November. He's not assigned to a party. He's going strictly as write-in. So let's bring him on and learn a little bit more about him.
Hello.
How are you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing good, Marv. Everything good out there in Bismarck?
Yeah, it's been a long couple weeks for our family, but it's a good day. So sun shining, we don't have snow.
Yes. So last year at this time we still had about 6 inches of snow in our driveway still. So it's a lot better. A lot
I
better.
I was looking back at memories from last year. April 15th, we had that big blow. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping we won't see that again because what was that? We got like a foot, 18 inches, something like that. The last big storm of the year.
You got a lot more, you got more than we did, but yes, it was. Yeah, we're doing a lot better this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Bruce? Who you are, where you're from, and why you're running for governor.
Oh, I guess originally southern Minnesota, southeast Minnesota person. Came up to North Dakota about 1983 and basically I was a wrestling coach for most of the years, for like 40 years of coaching. And I guess, and what do we do? Me and the wife, Kit, we did quite a bit of investing in properties and rent out our properties. So that's what our living's been for the last 30 years. It's a great state of North Dakota here, but right now we do need some changes in North Dakota, and that's probably why I'm running. Because I mean, let's admit it. I sit there and I talk to lots of people out there, and what do they talk about? They say, "Oh, we're in big trouble." Everybody's saying we're in big trouble. And what the heck are they doing about it? What are you doing about it? I sit there and I really got to say about to the people of North Dakota, you're going to whine a lot, but you're not going to do anything about it. And I just says, hey, what the heck? I'm the person that I'm whining about it too. Am I going to do anything about it? And I says, hey, a couple of years, 5 or 6 years ago, I said, hey, I'm going to run and try to do something because I can do a lot better than these guys out here, these self-appointed, not self-appointed, but appointed by the bureaucrats, who are going to help them out. I mean, that's what I'm working on right now, is sitting there and saying, hey, North Dakota, do something about it. Don't just whine about the problems with North Dakota. Do something about it, and that's why I'm doing it. So that's why I'm running. And I talked to Shilo about it. Why am I going as a write-in candidate rather than getting my name on the ballot? I tell you what, I want everybody in North Dakota to sit there and put a little effort into it. Sit there and write. Hey, if you can't write down a guy's name that's really going to give a darn and do something about this state, then we are shot, and we don't have any hope. I mean, I sit there and I want people to put some effort into learning. There's too many people that just vote for the R&D. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and they don't sit there, and you have no idea what the heck they even voted for. Look at all the people. Marv, you talk to people. How many people actually know how their local legislatures voted? And that's one thing that really, and I was that person for a long time. And I said, the heck, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Me and my wife, we sat down and said, hey, we've been whining long enough. Let's do something. That's why I'm running. As a write-in too.
Yeah, well, and I mean, Kit, she's got her show now. For those of you that don't know, Bruce is Kit Brennan's husband, who does Common Sense Uncensored. Kit's been fire for years now. And I know you were back in 2020. I was watching your old YouTubes that you had up, which we did link in the article for today. Just your short videos as to why you were running, why people should write you in. So obviously you're not running with the R or the D behind your name. But it's not really an independent run because it's a write-in. It's literally just you on the go here. What's kind of some of the things that you want to see changed, or how long do you plan on running for office? Take your pick there.
Okay. Well, how long? Oh, no. This is, I think with my wife too, it's one and done. I sit there and I'm going to do it 4 years, and I'm going to sit there and this is all it's going to be, is sit there and show that this is what we need. We need another possibility, another answer, because the answers right now, Democrat or Republican, are just totally outrageous in this state. I mean, with the crony capitalism we have here, it's like we can't believe it. I mean, what's happening to our state is, well, let's admit it. What is crony capitalism? It's pretty much close to fascism, which means the government and its select citizens work together to enrich each other. And that's what's happening a lot, and not a lot, but hugely a lot in North Dakota. I mean, that we have people that, I mean, okay, I could say a couple things. One, obviously, you talked about it before, carbon solutions.
Yep.
Is there anything more crony capitalism than that? I mean, right now, what do you think about that, Marv? Crony capitalism. And is that is carbon solutions the perfect example of that?
Well, here's the funny thing about that. So this last legislative session, I complained about it enough. They did these great big tax breaks for oil extraction, gas caps, for tax that gets implemented for the restimulation wells, where they knocked it down to 2.5% on these wells for X amount of months for what they're going to pay on taxes, versus between 5 and 6.5%. And what's interesting about that, Continental Resources, which is headed by Harold Hamm, was kind of a beneficiary of this. Now you turn around, you look at this private meeting that they were hosting. Harold Hamm was one of the hosts for this legislative meeting that's coming up. Now that we have media coverage, it's going to be interesting to see what actually gets said. But I mean, if you want to talk about crony capitalism, I mean, there's very much a tit for tat correlation there, you know? So I can see where you're at with that. And that's a prime example, because now we have K-Fire in the morning. They have 2 hours worth of pretty much pro-carbon stuff. We have this legislator only meeting that was supposed to happen on the 16th. And now all of a sudden we're allowing the media in because everybody made enough noise about it. So yeah, it's been kind of a wild trip when you start looking at it. I mean, you look at even the governor running for office, all of a sudden Microsoft Teams is literally the only communications that they were using up there, which that contract's finally expiring. And I know there's a lot of people excited about that. Even down to the Bitcoin and stuff like that, these data mining centers that they keep bringing in. It seems like the people of North Dakota are forgotten, or we're customers, not the employers. And that's a mentality that we've had for 2 decades. So yeah, I get where you're at with the crony capitalism. That's for sure.
Well, okay. Now, one thing I'm going to sit there and say about it is simply, okay, I mean, you got carbon solutions. All right. This is supposed to be such a great thing for North Dakota, and it's going to be so prosperous for everybody in North Dakota. Then why the heck are you not paying for it and keeping all the profits for yourself? Why do you have to have a whole bunch of federal money coming in to make this work? This is supposed to be such a great thing. What the heck? Just do it. Do it rather than sit there and you could pay off the people, the farmers for their land and stuff. What are you going to do? I mean, it's so crooked, because it's going to be basically they're going to be eminent domaining, doing all kinds of stuff like that to get the last people that will refuse to buckle under to this bunch of crap. And I mean, what's it for? What is this carbon solutions? What is this carbon storage really about? I mean, it's about the oil and the oil extraction. I mean, it's pretty darn obvious. And they sit there and I believe Lynn Helms was saying about how it's going to be, he's on 1100, and he's saying, well, it's going to be a number of years before it can happen, that it'll be used to enhance the oil extraction. And not more than 2 sentences later, he says, yeah, it's going to be coming in a couple of years. It's like going, yeah, it is. It's not going to take it. As supposedly it's supposed to stay underground for 12 years. It was kind of the deal, 10 or 12 years. I can't remember. But it's like going, no, it's not. It's going to be out there, and we're going to be paying for what the oil companies should be paying for, what Carbon Solutions should be paying for. Why are we always the ones, the banks for everything? Okay. And what do we get for it? What do we get for it? Oh, what is there? 150 jobs, maybe? Okay, they said the jobs. Hey, the jobs will be there for other things. And if it's a great idea, the jobs will be there anyway for it. If Carbon Solutions thinks it's a great idea, no, it's just stealing our money. I mean, it's really, like I say, crony capitalism. All they care about is taking our money. All right. And that's one thing that really irks me about that one. And there's lots of other stuff about the crony capitalism stuff, but this is just a hot one for nowadays.
Well, and you've seen that recently on a local level. Weren't you guys just fighting a property tax initiative out there?
The property tax up here, well, property taxes, well, that's a whole new story. Holy man, are they outrageous? I mean, ours are, of course, doubled each year for the last 3 years. And if you look at it, we figured out in 10 years, at the rate we're going, we've been paying someplace right around $100,000 a year for property taxes if it keeps doubling every year. That goes up pretty dang fast. So, yeah, property taxes, and as far as has there been more problems here than other places? Probably not, but they do have some crooked crony capitalism that they tried up here in Grand Forks with the Chinese. What was that? What was that? Thing was yes. That was a little.
Mhm.
Well, that was a typical thing. I mean, they sit there and they're looking for free money, and who's the free money from? That's from us, the taxpayers, and that's that's something. One thing I'm definitely going to fight as a governor is sitting there saying, no, you can't sit there. We got to do better than we're doing, and property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
What is the answer on it? I know Rick Becker been trying to he's going to try to get rid of it, and that's why I support him, and that's why you got these other two. I was going to say clowns, but that's not proper, is it? But running to make sure he does it, and the big money is going to be supporting the winner of those two, and it's going to be Alex, of course, because Julie doesn't have what it takes. I mean, that's the prediction, but that's something we have to worry about. Is like I say, and everything works, and the property tax. Okay, one thing, why am I so dead set against property taxes? One is probably one that we can't control. Okay, and another thing that really ticks me off about it is people like Doug Burgum. He has millions upon millions of dollars worth of property in Fargo. I know throughout the state usually, but he's really invested tons of it. And everything he gets is tax incentive TIFs. He doesn't have to pay property taxes for 5 years to start off with whatever he does. And that's all the elites too. They get the little TIFs. So they get to start off well, and then they're going to get an extension too. I'm sure Tammy Miller is going to make sure. I'll bet you Doug Burgum says, well, make sure I get my TIFs. I don't have to have no taxes, no property taxes on all my hundreds of millions of dollars worth of properties. And I say about property tax, if one person is going to pay for it, everybody's got to pay for it. Why the heck do I have to pay my property tax, which is going up immensely every year, when Doug Burgum, who has billions of dollars, doesn't have to pay? That's really frustrating for me.
Well, it's been an ongoing fight. When I was, oh, there's an echo. Is that you, Shiloh? Yeah. I don't know. Give me a second. We are going to be on the go.
Yeah, I don't know. I apologize, guys. My computer went, and all of a sudden I had nothing. It like totally restarted. And I was reaching over my water. I spilt my water on me. That's why I have a different shirt on. So it was like a Jim Carrey movie almost. It was like one thing right after another. So
well, I'm just going to eliminate the echo not being me.
Oh,
so
okay.
Take over my wife's office.
It must be you, Marv. Something out because everything's perfect out here.
Mm-hmm.
That's a river valley, I guess. Perfect.
There we go. We'll figure it out. Anyway, that's what we just keep seeing over and over is we see these different incentives, these different initiatives, these different kind of patting each other on the back. And that needs to stop. So going into this, like, what's kind of your first step once you become governor? What do you think that you're going to go after first?
First thing, I would have to say, well, are we going to be able to deal with property taxes that are pretty major? Can I say I want because of crony capitalism, I really want to look at a fair and transparent bidding process. Because I mean, we're paying outrageous prices for our school district, our schools that we build, and well, I'm just seeing here today that we're paying $5.9 million for resurfacing 6 miles of highway in Grand Forks County, and it's so wonderful because it's a grant, and everybody goes like, well, it's a grant, so it's free. It's like going, oh, okay. It's like, how many people really think grants are free? Where the heck do they come from? The grant fairies? I mean, obviously they are your money. They come from the federal government. The federal government doesn't make any money for you people. It's like you got to sit there, and that's one thing I get irritated about is people just kind of like think that it's just, oh, grants are wonderful. And every county in the states has what? Grant writers. We have a grant writer in Trail County. It's like going, okay, so everybody's trying to get these grants from everybody or from the federal government, and everybody's going like, whoa, ain't that wonderful? You got grant, free money. It's like, yeah, okay, free money. Federal government, what are we, $34.6 trillion in debt now? And this is free. And everybody think, and there's people that think, oh, what's the difference? What's the difference? We don't need to worry about our deficit. We just keep printing more money. And there's lots of people out there that believe that stuff too. We got to wake up these people, Marv. We got to get Shiloh. We got to do something about telling the truth. I mean, I sound like I don't sound like a great guy that's, everybody's going to love and say, oh, Bruce Moe, he's such a sweetheart. Gosh dang, he says so many nice things about us. It's like, no, I sit there and, hey, I'm going to sit there and tell. My favorite saying is, and I did it myself, get your head out of your butts. That's what we have to do in order to get this country, this state, to get in a situation where we can actually do something and make people, the average person, more successful, better off. Because I mean, like lots of the people that complain, there's some possible, well, quite likely bad things coming unless we do something, and it's got to be quick, and it's got to be drastic.
Well, with what we're seeing, I mean, if they keep raising taxes, they keep raising everything, but wages aren't raising. It pretty soon will be. You will own nothing and be happy.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Mr. Claus. What's his name? Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Yes, it is. Yeah, well, unless we get with it and understand what's happening, it's going to happen. Yes, we are going to have the great reset that they want. And who do you got to blame but yourself? I mean,
Well,
really.
and you look at it, 4 years ago, $100,000 was a comfortable living. It was considered middle class for a family of four. I just saw an article the other day that said you need to make $323,000 a year for a family of four to live comfortably.
What?
Yeah.
That's scary. I haven't seen that one. I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah. I was just reading it the other day. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. I came across the article. I forgot to pin it. But yeah, that's what they're saying. With the way prices have gone up, with the way the inflation's gone up, with the way taxes are going up, with the way everything's going up, that's what you're going to need to make in order to be happy. And I don't know about you guys, but I sure don't make that a year.
No.
Oh, Lordy, that's good money. But yeah, well, another thing about property taxes, and I understand Rick Becker has, he has a plan, but I really got to sit there and say, hey, is it a plan? I don't like. It seems like there isn't really an answer how we're going to pay for everything, and that's one thing I was thinking about what I would probably include besides the oil extraction and all kinds of other things that we already have in our coffers. I would also sit there and think that, hey, I think we probably could use a consumption tax to pay for the lack of changing property taxes, eliminating property taxes, because it is probably the most, besides capital gains taxes, probably the most crappy little tax there is property tax. And I gotta love property taxes, especially when you talk to people about them too. And what do people say? Well, it's only the rich people, the ones that can afford their houses and the ones that can afford businesses and stuff like that, that get property taxes. And I sit there and say, and I had a president of a bank go up to me and he said, I was talking about property taxes. And he goes, well, if you don't like property taxes, you can just rent. And of course, I says, I won't say his name, but I said, that is probably the most damn stupid thing I ever heard, because you realize I've been in property rentals for the last 30 years of being a kid. I've been working on it. And don't you think we're smart enough to add money onto it, that we have to pay the property tax on it, that you guys, you renters, are paying property taxes? Don't you think when you go into that store that they put up their prices like maybe a little bit to pay for property taxes? That's what drives me crazy. Like I say, it's like I'm not winning a lot of prizes for being the most sweetheart governor running for governor. I'm saying, get your heads out of your butts, because wow, there's people that say that in a president of a bank. This is interesting, guys. Yes.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just going to ask you. I mean, we all know look any direction, there's a lot of problems in our state. But with elimination of property taxes, the things that I hear the most is, well, we're going to lose local control. And now we've got the, not the counties, not the cities,
Townships, school
there
board.
you go. The townships are now freaking out about this, about not having property taxes, and how are they going to pay for their roads and this and that. And so I think there's a lot of misinformation. As far as you're concerned, being the governor, let's say we get this property tax deal passed, so there's no more property tax. How are the people still going to have local control? How are we going to get things paid for? Because, like you've said, we've got right here, this sheet here about the state's overspending and all of that. I mean, pick your poison. You got corporate welfare, you got pork, you got bloated government. I mean, there's like quite a
Well,
bit of information on there.
I think
Go
Bruce
ahead.
has already said he's against corporate welfare there.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that, but I guess my question is how are we gonna assure these people if we get the property tax eliminated? What are they gonna? What do they got to look forward to? How are things gonna get paid for?
Well, okay. Now I know Rick Becker thinks that we have so much money in our coffers and stuff like that, and you know it's going to run out. So I'm not going to sit there and say I'm not that optimistic about that
Mhm.
being an answer. Okay, I'm going to sit there and say, all right, I'm a big fan because everybody pays, including people that visit the state. Everybody pays consumption tax. And I like the word consumption tax rather than sales tax because obviously I'm trying to be a politician. So we use nice, sexy words, and consumption tax sounds so much better than sales tax. Okay,
Mhm.
we might have to. You might have to. Everybody's going to sit there and say, hey, we're not going to put a whole bunch of, I would highly recommend starting out low and hoping it works, maybe 1 or 2 cents per dollar consumption tax on all things you buy in the state. Now, and you got to keep it low enough that people aren't going to go over. People that live in Fargo aren't going to go over to Moorhead to buy it, even though they pay more taxes than we do. But that's what I think is a possibility. Is a consumption tax, and that's a low one. And everybody's going to say, "Well, that's 2 or 3 cents." I says, "Well, I'm going to say the same thing that these clowns say about the property taxes. It's for your kids. It's about the kids, and that's what they always say, and it always works. It's like, no, okay." You don't want to pay, but you're not willing to pay a consumption tax where everybody has to share freely, and we're it's just the way it's going to work. In my opinion, is why not? I'm going to
Well,
tell you, it will work, right? Or what do you think? What do you think, guys? Think. And by the way, just so you know, as far as being a governor, I'm going to be talking to people
yep.
about what we need to do and what the answers are. Because believe me, I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to come up here and tell you, oh, I'm such a wise man. Obviously, you're listening to me. You know, I'm average at best, and I have no problem with that.
Mhm.
Okay, but
Well, and like big things as the governor, I mean, you sit on the school land board, you sit on the legacy fund board, you're in charge of the emergency fund board. So, I mean, the legacy fund and the school land board are two very, very easy ways that you can provide transparency because all the bids are sealed when it comes to the school lands when they go up for lease auction. And B, we already have the legacy fund that's been having all sorts of fun with investment issues. So, I mean, there's two very easy ways you can take a practical look at saving the people of North Dakota money. So,
Okay, so the question again then is how is it going to get divvied up? Because this is what the establishment is saying is that they're going to lose local control because what happens with these multiple counties that have one legislative senator
so
amongst.
the way it's supposed to go, Shiloh, is the government entities that are already in place have a timestamp at the end of 2024,
Mhm.
whether it's a township, a school board, a city council, a county commission. So they already have their timestamp at the end of 2024. If this passes, that's their freeze frame. The Legislative Assembly is to budget for what their end of year was for the next fiscal year. And obviously, since legislatures meet twice, they'll be hopefully smart enough to budget for a 2-year cycle so that they don't have to come back after the first year and go, oh God, we got to give out some more money.
Mhm.
Now, the problem that we've been running into and things I've gotten in trouble for, you look at townships like Gibbs, which they're awful pissed I was talking about the show, but they were proposing an 18% mill or 18 mil versus their 4 because they were worried about the property tax initiative meeting. The next township meeting, council president was very upset because, oh, well, I don't know who was talking about this 18 mil, but that's not the truth. And it was part of the meeting. They did end up passing, I think, a 6 mil. So a 2 mil increase. But you even look at the mill itself. I mean, who can tell you what the definition of a mill is?
No,
But we're seeing it all the way across the state.
Yep.
Harvey's got a $23.5 million school project they're proposing. Fargo had, God only knows how much that one was. And Hillsborough, what were you guys looking out there? Was it 26?
Well, no, there's only 14 at the original, and
14 at the original.
12, and but well, actually, you might be right about the original. The one that never got to the board was outrageously high. But of course, they chop off, and they, some of the bidders get to be more realistic rather than charging $700 a square foot like they, or actually 686 that they did in Williston. They get back to $400. I remember when a square foot of a building, it was not more than 10 years ago, $200 was called outrageous. And now we're talking $400. It's everything. Everybody should be happy with it. So that's one thing that's, why are all these public buildings being outrageous, the prices are just outstanding. And of course, and getting back to what you say about who should be allotting the money after property taxes, what should we do about it? Well, basically, you're going to have to sit there and have a fair board that can sit there and say, hey, this money is allotted, so much is allotted to these people, so much for this people, and stuff like that. I mean, that's the only way. Can we find honest people that aren't willing to screw over their neighbors? And that's what you have to have. And because, like I say, don't sit there and ask for millions of dollars that you don't need. And that's what's going to happen if you don't have the right type of people or the right type of rules on how the money's spent for the legacy fund and so on and so forth.
Well, and things that we can fix moving forward. Honestly speaking, I think that the Legislative Assembly, when they come back into session after the property tax initiative passes, they need to be looking at the end of the fiscal year for 23 and the end of the fiscal year for 24 and find out who was naughty this year and raise their mills to outrageous amounts.
Yes.
Because that's something that's going to need to be evaluated. The other thing that I feel that they need to do is when they are going through and they're fixing things, they need to remove the emergency clause from the Century Code when it comes to boards making bids, because time and time again across the state, folks, your city commission will have a meeting where they need to get the street fixed in front of Walmart. And what they'll do is they'll go, well, we'll open it up for bids, but there's an emergency clause, the second part of it, where they can shorten it to 10 days. They can offer the job. They don't have to reveal the bids. And that's how they're lining their buddies' pockets. You just need to go rolling back through the meeting minutes because they use it time and time again, whether it's repaving a school parking lot, it's fixing a roadway, it's changing out streetlights. 9 times out of 10, there's not a public bid. And if there is a public bid, it's a formality.
The right people get the money. They're always, and this is what I mean about how I am sit there as a governor. I'm not going to sit there and have these ideas. I'm going to ask for ideas and how we can make it work. And guess what? We're going to be able to make it work if we get the right people in there and talk to them, and they're willing to talk and discuss what's the fairest way to do it. And then, like I say, Marv, you just sit there and you enlighten me as to good ideas and how some possible solutions. What can happen, and that's what I think as a governor should do, is sit there and say, hey, I'm not going to know everything. I'm not going to sit there and worry about saying, oh, I'm going to make up a story rather than saying, I don't know. We're going to work on it. And that's what we need, is lots of people that say, hey, how can we make this work? How can we make it work that we don't have property taxes? We have a better answer for it. How is it going to work for everybody in Hazen, North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, Grand Forks, whatever it is? I mean, you just got to make sure you don't have a real bunch of clowns like you do in Williston that spend $377 million on and we can't figure out where it's from. By the way, make sure you vote for Josh Gallion. All right, the only answer. But I will, and that's one thing as I go through the kind of changes the subject a little bit, but through the election season, I am going to support and tell what I think are good people, and that's something I know you guys try. You do a pretty good job of it, but it's sometime when you have podcasts, you want different people on it, you can't sit there and say, good God, you suck.
Marvin's good at that. I'm the one that says it.
Yeah, well, that's why I sit there and say, hey, who the heck? I'm going to be. I don't have a lieutenant governor yet, and I still got to sit there. And I know on my short list of people, Marv, you'd be one of them.
Well,
What do you
thank you.
think? What do you think?
I promised my wife
By
I
the way,
wasn't running this year.
I'm one and done. There's not a chance in hell I would go for 8 years out there. I'm 66 now. I'll be 67. So I'd be 71 when I sit there. And I really was kind of thinking that sometimes the retirement should happen before you're dead. And that's, so that's what I want. I sit there and who the heck would want to be my lieutenant governor? I mean, you're going to have to be a radical, and you're going to sit there and you're going to have to be smart and know some stuff. Because I'm going to ask you questions. Because I sit there and I have no problem saying, hey, people ask me, let's just say I'm in front of a crowd in Reynolds.
Yep.
And somebody asks me a question I can't answer. I'm not going to sit there and bullshit you. I'm going to sit there and say, I don't know. I'm going to check it up, and I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to give you an answer in a couple weeks. I'm not sit there. There's no reason you should try to know everything, because you can learn it, and that's a lot better. And that's the way. That's the way I want to. I think a good person should, a good leader should do it.
Well, and you're really going to need a whip for the Senate, whoever you pick for your lieutenant governor. Thank you for the offer, though. But you're going to have to convince Sarah. Not Kit. You're going to have to sell this to Sarah.
Oh,
Sarah loves Kit. Sarah loves Kit.
Well, I know the thing is Kit loves you guys, so it's like going, hell, you might as well. What the heck? But like I say, I really think that, obviously so I want somebody that's like is going to sit there and have wisdom, isn't afraid to voice their opinions. And I'm not one of those guys that I'm going to worry about whether it's a man or a woman either. I mean, somebody sit there and say, well, you should get a woman from out west, so you diversify and you go out there and it's no. I just want somebody that's wise, has good sense and stuff like that. But who knows?
That kind of leads me into the next question for you. Campaign finances. I know Kit was super proud of the fact that this last time around she financed her own campaign. Obviously, a governor's run is not an inexpensive thing, but I also know that you guys aren't big on taking corporate donations. Are you going to be taking any donations, or are you going to straight after this on your own steam?
I tell you what, it's the simple thing is I sit there and I'm going to tell everybody out there, and I tell lots of people that know I'm running. I know lots of the kids down at NDSU wrestling. They sit there and they're going to vote for me. Okay, that ain't going to win me anything. But I sit there and how am I going to advertise? I tell you what, the only possibility, the thing I'm looking at is, hey, you like what I say. You think it's, hey, this guy is going to do a better job than we had with Bergman and Dalrymple and Hoven and Heidkamp over these last years. This guy's going to do a heck of a lot better job, and he's going to be fair. I'm going to give him some money, or you don't. I mean, I'll be honest. I'd rather have you rather than giving me money. I'd rather have you go out there, paint a sign, say Bruce Moe for governor, put it out there, call up your neighbor and say, hey, this guy isn't going to be the turd that we had for the last 30 years. Okay. I hope turd is it. But
we're free speech here. We're free speech here, so don't worry about it. It's just funny. It wasn't what I was expecting.
Okay. But that's the way I feel about it. It's like, hey, this is what I'd love to win by sitting there saying, hey, we're sick of this. But I tell you what, it's going to take a knowledgeable electric to get that through, because there's way too much complacent. So we can't do anything about it. We're just going to whine about it. Okay. But that's what I would like to do. Sit there and say, hey, wouldn't it be fun if I started scaring people, like 10 to 20% of the people had Bruce Moe signs in the next 2 or 3 months? It would start, it's going to resonate into something that I'm not going to say completely unlikely, but not terribly, I'm not terribly positive about it. But hey, crap's got to happen. We got to make it happen. Otherwise, we're going to be, okay. Who do you guys want?
Okay.
Who do you want for governor? Do you want Tammy Miller? Do you want Lance Armstrong? Not Lance Armstrong.
Kelly.
Lance.
Might as well be Lance.
Louis Armstrong's a nice name. She knew it. I told her.
I hear a kid in the background.
I just so you know, I did know Kelly was his name. Actually, the only thing is, I sit there and I'm gonna be harsh on him over the next months too. And I remember I was coaching when his senior year of wrestling in Wilson or Dickinson. What? But anyway, he was one of those schools. So I know him and I know his dad, but it's like still, he's not the answer in my opinion. What do you? Okay, can I ask? What are you thinking about for governor of North Dakota right now? I'm putting you guys on the spot, aren't I?
No, because I had a list of 7 names a year ago who I figured were going to end up running for governor.
Right.
So right now, I don't have any endorsement behind anybody, and it's not because I don't want to support what the GOP says at convention. It's not because I don't want to support just because I'm supporting. I'm watching how people handle themselves, because I'm like a lot of people, Bruce. I don't want to see the negative. I want a candidate like yourself that wants to come in, that's going to tell me what you're going to do. Tell me how you're going to fix my state. Tell me how you're going to make it so that I don't have to do stuff like this anymore, because I'm doing this for my daughter, because she should never have to do that. So like the whole negative tit for tat that we're continuously seeing right now between Kelly and Tammy, I can't tell you what either of them are running for. And it's not an attack on Kelly. It's not an attack on Tammy. It's just, tell me what you're going to do. Don't tell me what your opponent's going to do wrong. And that's where I'm really at on this. I don't know where Shiloh's at, but like, that's what we need, is we need folks like you who are willing to say, I'm going to run.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of that, I think that's some of the reason why we started the show, right? But way back when Luke and I started, and now even it's been kicked into another gear with Marvin is trying to get people involved, try and get, newcomers, because, just like Marvin, I'm I'm watching. I mean, I've been on record for saying that we don't have a good candidate, and I'll stand behind that. I mean, there's some people that, think I'm crazy for not um backing Kelly, and I just don't think that we have a good candidate. I mean, Kelly's record speaks for itself. I mean, most of these guys. I mean, it doesn't matter what race. There's a lot of. I mean, we need new people. I mean, basically, all we've done is taken one from one area over here, and we're just playing musical positions. And
Well, and depending on who gets elected, I'd be expecting to see Michael Howe running for House in 2 years instead of Secretary of State.
Wow, amazing. I was going to go through some other things that I would want to do as governor, and voting rules and rights and stuff are high on my priority list. I mean, I'm going to sit there and say, yeah, there was total corruption, and it will happen in North Dakota if there needs to be total corruption, and it has to do with the machines. Everybody's talking about the write-in ballots and the day after and stuff like that. It's like going, no, we're not going to worry about that so much. The machines are the only thing that counts. They count everything. And you mentioned Mike Howe is going to be something special. It's like going. I was on 1100. I called up 1100 because they had Scott Hennett had Mike Lindell on there, and he told how corrupt and how easy it is for the voting machines to be. They're obviously connected to the internet, whether Mike Howell says they're not are or not. But so Mike Howell, if he runs for anything, I mean, my God, it's like I'm scared. If we get to that low, and I mean, I know you sit there and you want positive things about people, but sometimes you go like, some people are scary, and
case in point,
there's going to be potential.
Case in point with Michael Howe. Case in point, when he ran, where was he? He was nowhere. He was in his basement.
I was laughing about that today while I was listening to.
I mean, I've got the text messages that I sent him, and I know he's seen them because his little face thing went down. He never responded. To this day, he's been. How many times have we asked him to be on the show?
Here's what I think is funny, Shilo. I was actually laughing about this today while I was listening to the flag, listening to this debate.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only debate that I had with Michael Howe was the newspaper debate, which wasn't even televised.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I didn't see hide nor hair of him. I had to fight to get any sort of airtime, any sort of interview, any sort of whatever. And Scott Hennon would literally, he literally ran away from me at an event out in Fargo.
Imagine that.
And it's not even because I was combative. I think they were afraid to put him in the same room with me.
Well, they would. I mean, obviously, Barb. That was actually. We still have you up I seen it up in Walnut Street. I still have your name sign in the yard. So you're sticking with us. The tenants haven't taken it down yet. They must like you. No, it's interesting. Like I told the guys, 1100. Who do you trust, Mike Lindell, or do you trust Mike Howe? I mean, my God, what's the choice there? I mean, because Mike Howe says we don't need no paper ballots. It's like, the hell we don't need paper ballots. We want fair elections. Do you really think those machines, the Dominion machines, Kit just loves the name Dominion because it sounds so authoritarian. And that's what it is. I mean, they're going to sit there and it's there. I mean, and we have, what do we have? ESS machines, and
Yep.
everybody says, oh, they're so wonderful. They're made by the same dang company. Does people not realize stuff like that? It's like going, they're the same machine. Okay. They just have a different name on them. Just like, well, but
So
it's interesting.
Think of it this way too. It doesn't even necessarily mean it's not about the machine, it's about the software.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is the Microsoft operating system instead of Linux or Mac, which are more secure OSs. Sorry, just my 2 cents.
Another thing, I'm going to go through a list if you don't mind. Just
go for it. Yep.
I have to make sure everybody knows. Okay, the Second Amendment. Obviously. Okay, I was listening, and I gave my wife is marvelous on the Second Amendment, but I had to give her hell because she had the a guy on that's pro. He was, what was his name, kid?
Clayton.
Yeah, Clayton. Yeah, he's great on it, right? But for 40 minutes, they did not say that the reason we have the Second Amendment is because the government, a tyrannical government. That's the first thing I always say to people. Why do we have the Second Amendment? Tyrannical government, number one, number two, and number three. Okay, then you get the safety of the family and protection. Okay, that's why we have it. And as a governor, what am I going to do to make sure the state and the people get safe? They're going to all have to sit there and, hey, we're going to have to. I mean, I want control. I want a my dog's yelling. I want a robust group of people that are willing to do what it takes to keep our state safe. All right, and definitely. Oh, he's okay. Our dog's growling a little bit. First Amendment, obviously, is very important, and it's kind of how terrible it is. I mean, here's just a terrible, the worst answer I got for the First Amendment is people, they can't talk. Look at what happened during January 6th. It's basically a peaceful protest, right? As a rule. Of course, they got thousands of people locked up for saying, hey, we think there's problems here. That's what they got. They use the 14th Amendment crap on everybody. It's like, no. You have to be able to say what you want to say. You can't, and that's one thing. And that was so outrageously, and it's kind of contrast that to BLM, where that was such peaceful protest there and nobody got arrested. Just interesting what's happening. And I know I was listening to Alex, what's his name? The new running for Congress. What's his last name?
Oh, Alex
Ballas. I mean, I was listening to him today and he was talking about how wonderful the FBI is. Most of the people are wonderful in the FBI. We have way too many people on the top that really are outrageous. And that's the thing is we need good people throughout our government. We can't, it's like, everybody says, well, you need new leadership. What the heck happened when the FBI went from Comey to the, what's the newest guys? I mean, it's like going same crap, different name. And that's what's going to happen unless we dig down real deep and start getting good people and making sure our organizations and throughout the state. And by the way, I will talk about what the heck as a governor. Yeah, you're not supposed to talk and say a lot about federal things that you might upset somebody in the federal bureaucracy, so you don't get all the money you want or you can get for grants, because it's like going, hey, Bruce Moe as a governor, he shouldn't be talking that much about worrying about stuff like what the feds are doing and stuff like that. Okay. I'm going to sit there and get ticked off about it if I don't like what Mike Johnson did with the FISA report today, and let it happen, I will tell the people, Mike Johnson, it needs to be replaced. Simple. That's my opinion. You don't like it? That's too bad. First Amendment. I'm a governor. I can have First Amendments too. I should be, I'm protected under the First Amendment, I do believe.
Yep.
What were you going to say, Marv?
Well, that was something brought me to an interesting standpoint. As governor, you're going to talk about things, but 4 years ago, as governor, would you have accepted $1.25 billion in CARES funds?
Would I accept?
Or would you have used it for what we needed and return the rest?
Yes. I mean, is there any? I know Kitty. I think Kit wants to go to bed. She's tired.
I know she normally like goes goodbye to us at this point.
At 1 o'clock, yes. I know. Would I accept money, free money? You know, it's a bear because you have to accept it as the logical stuff. Yes, but I have to sit there and say, hey, okay, how can I turn it down? Because it does help the people of North Dakota, and I am the governor of North Dakota. It's just like me and Kit, we're just talking about rental assistance. We get lots of people that don't pay rent, not a lot, a couple of people that don't pay rent, and then they go and get free money from the government, and we accept that too. I mean, it sits there, and it does make me a little upset and nauseous, and it's a great question, and it's, am I being a hypocrite? I can't say no. I mean, but then again, I got to take care of the people of North Dakota, and $1 billion isn't bad to have, and doing the right thing with it is important.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the state of emergency, say you have $600 million left.
If there's no strings attached, then I'll take the money.
Yeah.
You know, because, well, we'll talk about strings. If you're going to talk about strings, it's like, why? There's one thing we're going to have to do something about. The Department of Education. I do not want any money from them. There's one that is outrageous. Talk about a worthless organization or cabinet in Washington, D.C. Would that be the first one to go, in my opinion? Yeah, I think it would be. You know, because I do not want to listen. And we have our superintendent of public instruction. She goes down to to Washington to learn stuff. No, you don't learn nothing. I mean, that is just the woke crap that they're preaching. I don't want anything to do with that. So that money from education, I would love to get rid of. But then again, is it hard to say no? If they don't have strings, but they always have strings in public education. And that's, like they say, that's one of the departments. What would be your first department to go? Or would you not have any?
Oh, well, we all know my favorite two is Health and Human Services and DPI.
It's painful for me. I'm going to sit there. I still go with education, but that's coming in close second. What did they have here? Don't they have like $5.1 billion to spend in the next 2 years?
Yeah, for DPI, I don't even know where the number ended on Health and Human Services, but it's 3/4 of our state's budget.
And it's like, oh my! And that's another thing. I sit there. Remember, consumption tax sounds better than sales tax. It's like these pretty names. That's what gets me too. Oh, we're going to have a pretty name, Health and Human Services. We've got to support that. Doesn't that sound wonderful? How can you sit there and not give money to Health and Human Services? It's like, Jesus Christ! What about we had Patriot missiles during the Iran or Iraq stuff. We always named everything so wonderful, but I mean it's just crap. And okay, let's just say Health and Human Services. I check this out it could be off now, but when they proposed though $5.1 billion for 2 years, they had 197 employees. That's pretty damn good money. What the heck are they going to spend that money on? You know they're going to spend that money on big palaces and parties. That that might outdo education, but the only reason it doesn't is because I still, every time I see it, I think about Williston and $377 million that they can't account for. So I still think education is probably the worst decrease.
Well, just remember, Mo, as governor, you get to appoint the head of Health and Human Services, since the Legislative Assembly didn't want to take up Jason Heitkamp on his bill to make an elected position. So you get to choose who gets to be in charge of all that budget once you're elected.
Whoa, what are we going to do? We have about $4 billion to spend on something else. Where the heck should we spend it? Or should we keep
property tax relief, or put it back into investments for the children's future?
Actually, I always said that too. I sit there about the governor getting paid, and I sit there and say, hey, governor, I think I should get paid about the average wage of a North Dakotan. You know, why should any public person get paid more than the average North Dakota? I mean, you get extra money because of education and stuff like that. I can live with that. But why should somebody just, in the public sector getting more than in the private sector? Shouldn't it be about the same? So I mean, heck, I give lots of donations to different people too, because I think the governor makes about $12,000 a month. So that's pretty good money.
I think it's $140,000 a year, something like that is what the governor makes. 120 some thousand. Keep in mind that's not including the pay raises that went through this last legislative session either. So Secretary of State was supposed to be at 108, but you look at Stutzman County, the auditor in Stutzman County recently disclosed they're making 120 for an auditor.
Oh, yep. I mean, I sit there and say, hey, I have a hard time when the people that are paying you are averaging probably 60 to 70,000. It doesn't fit well with me. But that's me. Maybe I'm just I don't want your money. I work. Me and the wife worked awful hard, so we don't have to have your money, and we're not going to steal it from you.
What else you got there for points, Bruce?
Well,
we got kind of squirrel there.
Yes. Well, grants. I mean, here's even statistics. We talk about grants, and our great legislatures. Well, that's Burgum and Armstrong and Kramer and Hovind. They talk about all the money they get, all the grants and all this stuff. And I hear it on 1100 because obviously those guys love our big four legislatures. Did you know that our state is 46 in amount of money that we get for grants? And that's 46 per capita. So that means that each person, it's not how many people that California has billions, hundreds of millions of people per capita. We are one of the lowest states in the country in getting grants and free money. Kind of interesting. Most people don't know that stuff. I mean, and it's been that way for quite a while too. So all these people that they talk about taking home the bacon. It's like, no, we don't get the bacon. As a matter of fact, per person in North Dakota, they have a median age number. Our citizens, each citizen gets $772 less than the average numbers per state. So that's like going, no. So when anybody talks about grants and stuff, think about it. We're doing terrible on getting our money back, the federal government, and we're paying for. Yeah, California is way lower than us. Each citizen gets almost $800 more than each citizen of ours through the federal government. Kind of interesting on something that since our great legislatures, and they're all Republicans. And everybody talks about, oh, isn't it wonderful? We need more Republicans. We need more Republicans. Do you remember back not that long ago? I remember that. Heidi Heitkamp, Byron Dorgan, Earl Pomeroy, and Ken Conrad. Everything was good. We're in the same boat then as we are now, right? Pretty much. We weren't suffering. We didn't have any problems paying, and making new things and building new schools. I mean, so it's like, you really think that the Republicans, just voting for a Republican, is going to make a difference? Start voting for people, and I don't know.
No, and that's an ongoing discussion that people have,
Yeah, it's because they all came to the Republican Party. I mean, I know it's kind of beating a dead horse, but if you look at their voting record, that you're exactly right. You have to go by what they're not what they're saying, but what they're doing, and the proof is in the pudding, as Grandpa used to say. So, no, I totally agree with you on that. Is we need to look at what they're doing, and that's I mean, just looking at the House race and the people that we're debating today. Rick has a very solid record, and Julie tried to call him out on the pro-choice stuff, and he admitted he did wrong, and since then has corrected it. So, yeah, I think it's like this, and I've been saying this for a long time. Marvin is probably tired of me saying it, but there's gonna come a time it's good versus evil, and there's gonna come a time, and it's coming faster than maybe we want to think of it, but you're gonna have to decide which side you're on, good or evil. It ain't Democrat, it ain't Republican, it ain't any of this other bull jive. It's good versus evil, and which side are you gonna be on? Period.
Yep, I agree.
And I think a lot of that is coming out, especially statewide in a lot of these races. I mean, even in the legislature, I mean, we've got people that won't show up for their endorsing convention. They're going straight to the primary, and if they do show up for their endorsing convention, like a few of them, they don't want to speak. They don't want to have a speech. They don't want to have to answer to what they did. So, and then not only that, they'll actually vote for their opponents to be endorsed. So, I mean, it's an abomination, honestly, what's going on. It's very tiresome, and I don't know, it's just it's coming to the point where, like I said, it's going to be good versus evil, and we're going to have to deal with some things.
Definitely. Oh, I tell you. Well,
So with that, is there anything else that you'd like people to know about you in your run?
nothing. I mean, right now, I suppose people think, well, he's Bruce Moe. He's part of the lunatic fringe. You know, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I do believe I'm telling the truth. I mean, you want to call me a lunatic or I'm making stuff up, and there's going to be lots of things like that. No way. It's getting ugly out there.
I think the biggest thing though is like with this school deal. Yeah, we can talk about the scores and all that bull jive that we want to, but you know what? You know what's really making people pay attention now, and it's this property tax deal and taxes going up, and finally it's hit people where it counts, right? So now everybody's in a tizzy, but yeah, we've got a heck of a battle now. So
what I like about talking with you, Bruce, is I can tell that you are not a spit and polish politician. Like it's nice. It's nice to have a conversation with a real person, because there's times when Shilo and I are talking where it is probably not the most legible conversation, and it may not be the most G-rated conversation, because I can get a little mouthy at times. And so it's nice to talk to somebody that you're you're not polished. You're a normal person who wants to make a difference, and that's amazing.
Speaking on that, Marvin, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I wasn't here for the first part. I was dealing with my computer. I don't know if we covered this, so forgive me if you guys did while I was gone. But let's talk about the write-in thing right quick, Bruce, because I liked your description on what you said when I asked you before we went on air here. So why the write-in? Why aren't you going to collect signatures to get on the ballot even as an independent? Why go the write-in?
Did we cover that with Marv?
Yep, we touched on that one already, Shilo.
That we basically, like I said,
Okay.
I want people to make an effort. We got to start making an effort. We got to start knowing what it is. And you made the point, very important point too, is know what the heck your legislatures are voting. I mean, you sit there and how many people know how their state legislatures vote? I'll bet you not even. I bet you. Well, I did a poll last year on it too, and it was 1 out of 61 people knew what their legislatures voted on. I just talked to them. So yes, and like I say, the answer to that one is get your heads out of your butts, people. Otherwise, I tell you what, our butts are going to be in lots of trouble. I suppose my wife is calling me. And she says, Bruce, it's time. I'm sick of listening to you yak. So I better let you guys go.
No.
How long do you guys go? How long is it?
I don't know. Shilo and I'll probably talk for another 10 minutes here. It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
So we go till our guest runs out of steam or they're
I didn't know that. I thought you had like a 2-hour show. I'm sorry. I've been yakking
No, it's good. I'm glad you
that's no problem.
All right.
We appreciate your time, Bruce.
Yeah.
All right. You guys take care. I appreciate it. Marv, Lieutenant Governor. Oh, would that be a great post? Your wife will forgive you someday. Or just
someday.
I'm gonna lose my co-host yet. Jeez.
All right, guys.
All right. You guys
have a good one, Bruce.
Night.
Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
And that is Bruce Moe. Candidate for governor of North Dakota. That he brings up a lot of good points, doesn't he?
Yep. Hey, when I was going through that list, I don't remember seeing Coachman running. Is he pushing to November? Have you heard anything? Because I know he's announced that he's running, and I know he had Lydia running with him, but I didn't see him on the primary list here.
I don't know.
So, okay. Well, I mean, there's 5 candidates then for governor at the moment. So it should be interesting. Bruce obviously has got a long run till November. That's going to be very long 7 months of getting his name out. I'm going to work on trying to get Merle on the show with us, Shilo.
Pepcorn?
Yep.
I was going to bring that up because that name intrigues me. I don't know much about him. I've been kind of listening. So this week I spent a lot of time on the road with my job, and with that I try and listen to a little bit of everything, and his name kept coming up, and even from both sides of the aisle, and so I'm intrigued by him. I'd really like to have him on. If we can get him on, I think that would be a good thing, and get the word out, see what he's all about as well. So,
and I'm working through different channels trying to get Kelly on with us too. So I'm not opposed to talk to any candidate, folks. So Kelly, Tammy, if you guys are watching, I know Tom follows the show. So Tom, if you're watching this one, get him on with us.
Thomas Beadle. Okay.
Yeah, he popped up recently, and hopefully he is watching the show. And I'd like to talk to him. I mean, he's unopposed, but it'd be nice to know what the state treasurer actually does.
I'd like to talk to all of them too. And like I said, I've been critical of some of these guys, especially Kelly and Kevin Kramer. But here's the thing: we can have a conversation. I might not agree with you. You guys can go on Joel Heitkamp. You can go on Rob Port. You can go on all these other guys, we're harmless. And we might ask you some questions. I mean, I watched Kevin Kramer stand and take it on KFYR about Ukraine and stuff, and there was some heated conversations. But I'm not out to make anybody look stupid. I'm not trying to do a oh gotcha thing. I mean, I know you aren't, Marvin, but obviously there's some questions that we'd like to ask, and why your record is what your record is. You can tell us that you're conservative or Republican or however you want to say that, but when the rubber hit the road, your records might not have shown that. And so I think it's important that you talk to everybody. I mean, you're not going to just represent one or two people in North Dakota. It's all of us. So I would think
Well,
that you would want to get your message out to everybody. And yeah, maybe I've gone overboard sometimes and I've been fiery and passionate and all that. And that's my mistake. But I still want to have conversations, and I still can do that. So
well,
does that
and
make
like,
sense or not?
yeah, it does. I'm actually glad I missed the Tuesday night show, Shiloh. I'm not glad for the reason I missed it,
Yeah.
but Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I mean Friday, Saturday, even though we were dealing with a lot of family stuff, I was getting more and more and more worked up about everything that was going on statewide at the convention, the articles that were coming out, the stuff that was happening. And I've been saying for what, a couple years now already, that this convention was going to get wild. And granted, we were down about 800 delegates, but when I got that email on Tuesday regarding this meeting with the legislators, and it was legislators only, and it was being hosted by so and so, and it was about carbon solutions in the future of North Dakota, I don't know if I would have kept my temper.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been able to bite my tongue on Tuesday night. So I'm glad I did miss that show, because I've had 3 days to reflect on it since. And I've had a conversation with somebody recently about this stuff too, Shiloh. When you write articles, when you say stuff on your podcasts, when you are having a debate on Facebook, temperance folks, we're our own worst enemy. Because you can't say Shiloh and I get into a fight here on the show. That's between Shiloh and I. But it's public format. So somebody that could be leaning on one side of the conversation or the other, or first-time viewer logging in, all they're going to see is two guys that are supposed to be getting along in an argument. They're no longer going to care. And that goes for when somebody puts out an article or puts out a post or is commenting. We don't all have the time to learn everything. Have a conversation, because otherwise we just eat ourselves from within.
Right. High emotion usually equals not so much wisdom, you know what I mean? And I'm guilty of that just as much as anybody else. And obviously there's articles. I mean, I know Naomi ruffled some feathers with her article, and I guess here's where I stand on all of it. And I kind of said it on Tuesday is the convention's the convention. That's what a convention is for, is to get that stuff out of the way, right? I mean, honestly, that's what a convention is for. But here's the thing. I had people reach out to me too, and wasn't happy with Rick and different things like that. But it all goes back to this, and Bruce kind of touched on it tonight. Are you going to go on someone on what they say, or who has a proven track record? Because it does, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but Rick Becker has a great track record as far as however you want to say it, conservative, statesman, whatever. What has he done wrong besides the votes that he admitted that he voted pro-choice way back when he first started? He admitted that today on the debate. But other than that, what more do you want in a candidate? he has never strayed from his principles. He's never strayed from the Republican platform. He's never strayed from that. And now we're going to get mad because they wasted an hour or two or whatever, supposedly wasted. Well, you know what? I agree with the people that were there and did it. I think they wanted to make a statement, and you know what? The whining and bitching and moaning that's going on, it's the same thing the establishment did 2 years ago and has been doing. As soon as they start losing, now we see now the grassroots is feeling pretty good about themselves. We're starting to come on. We're starting to gain some steam, right?
Yep.
And what's the other side doing? Well, they didn't play. I mean, if you, it's kind of funny because honestly, we're beating them at their own game if you think about it, because they're backpedaling now. And here's the other thing on that, Marvin. 2 years ago, they didn't expect all 92 delegates from District 2 to show up, right? And some of
Yep.
these other districts, they didn't expect that. This year, they kind of knew that they were going to have some people there. And I guarantee you in 2 and 4 more years, if we keep up the way that we're going, the party's going to be, it's going to look different. It's going to have a different feel. That's what my point was, is, you know, we can do all the podcasts that we want. People can write all the blogs that they want. But the fact is let's, I don't know. I don't know how else to put it, but let's grow up now and keep moving, because that's what we need to do. I don't want to hear about this petty politics and Rick did this, Rick did that. Okay, so he did. But you know what? We're moving in the right direction, and that's what matters.
Yeah. And something people don't realize, like when it comes to Rick, that man is taken it on the chin time and time again from the media. I mean,
and continues to.
And he continues to come forward to represent North Dakota.
Yep.
He continues to. I don't know anybody that could have taken the beating that he has on a consistent basis and still want to be involved.
Yep.
You can't tell me that any of our other elected officials, they've spent the last, 10 years continuously being ridiculed, attacked, thrown underneath a bus, had to have articles retracted on because they weren't true, having things credited to that they didn't do, that were in negative context. Like, he has taken it on the chin more times than anybody rightfully should. And that's not being partial to Rick. That is somebody that was reading those articles long before I ever got a chance to meet Dr. Becker. So I was excited to see the rise of the Minuteman blog, Shilo. It was nice to see that. There's been about a 2-year absence on it.
Yeah.
So that it was awesome to see that come through.
I'll be forever grateful to that deal because of what, and I'm just saying he because it's Minuteman. What you know, a few years back when I ran for school board in the Tioga Tribune, which is no more. That's kind of ironic. Anyway, the Tioga Tribune was trying to make me look like a fool when I brought up Common Core and different things, and then we rebutted their article with the exact with the standard, the Common Core standard and the North Dakota standard side by side, and you could see what I was talking about as far as just the words of Common Core taken out of it. So at any rate, I'll be forever grateful to that, and I'm glad to see that a person is back.
Yeah, hopefully they're around to stay for a little bit because it'd be nice to have some sanity and reporting again. But no, overall, like it's been a very, very long and very emotional couple weeks.
It has.
I mean, if you look anywhere from national news to local news, it seems like we keep getting blow after blow after blow of just dumpster fire news. So I'm glad I was gone Tuesday. I wish I could have been on with Whitney on Friday night, but again,
That
yeah.
was a pretty good conversation. I don't know if you got to watch it, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of her. And we didn't really go into the politics of her stuff and that, and but she's a very smart lady, and she's again there again, Marvin. Um, be the change that you want to see, right? Be the
Yeah.
change that you want to see in the world. And for a young person like that to do that kind of stuff, man, how awesome is that? And I'm not just saying that because she's my niece. It's just it was nice to see.
Yeah. So I think that's the note that we leave on. I mean, Bruce brought up the best point I've heard in a long time when it
Mhm.
comes to why he's going to be a write-in. We have to do some work instead of just voting R, voting D, voting I, voting L, voting whatever you choose to vote. And the fact that he's running this write-in campaign, I mean, he's putting in work, folks. We
Yep.
should be putting in work. Whether you agree with the things he said tonight or not, I mean, the man's trying.
Yep.
The man is trying. And that's what we all need to do. And I've said it before, even if you can't donate money to a campaign, you can still door knock for a campaign. You can still hand paint a sign. Like, heck, folks, if you actually believe in what Bruce had to say tonight, you're interested in learning more about him, visit the website, visit his guest book page for today, go visit his Facebook page. And if you are painting signs or if you support him, like the page, post your pictures. Let's have it. Because, oh, boy.
I agree.
You got to do it. I joked a few years ago, Shilo, and this is, I can't remember which presidential election was, but it was just a dumpster fire. It wasn't the Trump-based election. It was prior to that. But I was going to print off President Scrooge,
Mhm.
Spaceballs. I was going to print
Oh.
him off versus Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars, and I was just going to drop him out in my yard and be like, who do you trust?
Yep.
But you got to put in some work here. We got to. If you support your candidate, make sure you support your candidate. I got a text message earlier this week from somebody asking if I had Conley's sign in my yard yet. And I'm like, no, but I think I have one in garage because I had one a couple of years ago. And I went and checked and I didn't. And somebody else messaged me literally yesterday morning and they're like, did you have that sign? And I'm like, nope, I don't. I could take one. I dropped my address and it was here by the time I got home from lunch.
Yep.
So if you support a candidate, piss off your neighbors, put up their signs.
Yep.
Or have a conversation with your neighbors and see if you can get a sign in their yard too.
Yep. I agree, man.
All right. I'm going to put my soapbox away for the night, though.
Sounds good. Well, everybody enjoy their weekend, and we will see you guys on Tuesday. With that, have a good weekend and have a good evening.